Okay guys, welcome to another video review, or this is not really a review, I suppose, it's more of a showcase. So I wanted to sort of demonstrate, talk about music boxes. So there's a lot of different music boxes, and I think the ones that most people are aware of are the little tiny cheap ones. That's maybe 18 note or even less, and you just sort of, it's like the ones you see at the bottom of snow globes and things like that. They're like toys, and you just wind them up at the bottom, and then it plays a simple tune. So I think a large proportion of the population, general population, when you think music box, maybe you think of that. But there is, as with so many things in life, there is a subset of this type of thing that is a lot more intense, a lot crazier, and this is sort of the start of it. So let me turn this around, first of all. So this, by the way, believe it or not, is a music box, and you can tell by comparing it to my hand just how big it is. And I'm going to open it up so you can take a look at it. I'll actually tilt it a little bit so you can sort of see everything there is to see. This is from Japan, and it plays the famous theme song Beauty and the Beast from the movie Beauty and the Beast. So Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite movies, and so I jumped at the chance of getting a music box composition of the theme song. It only plays a little tiny snatch of it. It doesn't play the whole thing, but it does it in a very, very beautiful fashion. So before demonstrating it, let's go over this. So this is, of course, the title right here, Beauty and the Beast. It has 50 notes. So if you look at that, the bottom has 50 notes. And then this structure right over here is the comb, okay? And you wind it up, and when you start it, it's going to turn. And as it turns, the comb is going to hit all the different notes, and then you're going to create the melody and the music of that music box, okay? The wood, this is walnut wood, is supposed to kind of amplify the harmony, and it's a very, very complicated mechanism, and you buy it separately. So this thing on the inside of this glass case, this is called the movement, okay? And the movement has to do with the gears and all the intricate machinery that creates the beautiful sound. And then the glass and the wood, this is sort of like the case. And there could be very, very elaborate cases. And the cases can often be works of art in and unto of themselves. So you put everything together, and then you get the music box. You can wind it up quite a bit. And unlike regular music boxes or regular cheap ones, there's mechanisms in place to prevent you from breaking it or over-winding it. And once I have it play, I will kind of take a look at the inside, a little more detail. But there's a part here called the Geneva Stop. And what the Geneva Stop is it's a very simple way of preventing you from over-winding. So as you keep winding, it'll turn, and at a certain point, you'll stop, and it will not allow you to turn it anymore, okay? And so a full wind up to that stop, you should be able to play the song multiple times. So this here is the switch. If you simply turn it on by sliding it, then it'll keep playing until it completely unwinds. If you only wanted to go through one rotation and then stop, you'll slide it over, and then you'll slide it back, and it'll stop. So let's take a listen to this, shall we? So what'd you think? That was just beautiful, wasn't it? And that's what makes music boxes so unique, is that it takes a well-known tune and it's just this amazing like clarity and sound, almost like it's coming from a harp. So it's just breathtaking in terms of how beautiful it sounds. And it takes quite a bit of work to take a tune and to make it come out in a music box. You have to engineer it. It's like this sort of a confluence of engineering, mechanical engineering, and almost like watchmaking or clockmaking and art all together. Because of the way the comb is set, and because of the way the notes that you have to work with, usually the entire movement is 1 minute and 48, 1 minute and 50 seconds. It's very, very precise. And at that point, that's all you have to work with. And so, once again, these are actually works of art. There are multiple brands. The most famous is one from Switzerland, no surprise there. It's called Rouge or Rouget. And they've been making famous music boxes for, I think, centuries. And those music boxes are thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars. The movements in here can be of very popular pop songs like Beauty and the Beast, or it could be a lot of it is actually classical music. Canon in D, for instance, Pachelbel's Canon in D, for instance, is a very, very popular movement for music boxes. So the story behind this Beauty and the Beast movement is this is created by Sankyo of Japan. Now, Sankyo does not have the rich history of Rouge of Switzerland. They started quite a bit later, I think during the World War. I believe World War II was when they began to come into prominence afterward. But they very quickly caught up. The Japanese are known for the precision as well of their robotics and their, and the engineering, and their movements are not quite as expensive as Rouge's, but they still do a very, very good job. And they have sort of diversified the sort of tunes that they're creating. Many, many years ago, I would say probably almost a decade ago, I explored actually customizing Beauty and the Beast theme song for the music box to have it actually custom composed. And it's a pretty involved process, I can tell you. You have to pay rights, you have to pay people to properly compose it and then create the movement. It was a big deal. And while I was flirting with the idea, I never had quite the time and the money to really go into that. And luckily, while that was happening, Sankyo went ahead and did the work for me. They actually did movements of a lot of very famous Disney songs, A Whole New World from Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and some classics from, say Pinocchio, When You Wish Upon a Star. I think there was one also from Cinderella. So they did it, and then when I realized that they made a 50-note one, I jumped and bought one of them. So that saved, you can imagine, a lot of money and expense and time on my part. So pretty happy about that. This is a 50-note, which is kind of, the basic one for a music box of this quality. It also can come in 72-note, and I will demonstrate a 72-note one momentarily. And believe it or not, that can actually come again into 144, which is insane. And again, the number of notes is going to basically refer to the number to how wide this is, to the number of essentially keys, you see, that's in here. So this has 50 of them, and you can imagine 72 is going to be wider, and then 144 even wider yet. I can tell you that a movement that's 144, there's less than maybe 7 or 8 classical movement pieces that have 144. It sounds divine. It's $1,000 minimum just for the movement alone, and then for a wooden case worthy of that movement, another $1,000, minimum 2,000, and that's just basic stuff, basic wood. Again, there are $20,000 music boxes. It's pretty funny. Maybe a couple years ago, I had a colleague that I worked with, and we were just kind of chatting. It was at Loma Linda Medical Center, and I just sort of broached the idea of getting into wood, music boxes, etc. And he was like, "Oh my God, no, you don't want to do that." I mean, he talked about music boxes like it was heroin or something, like black tar heroin or like, crack cocaine. And I thought maybe he had a family member that really loved them and maybe spent way too much money on them. But it was pretty funny. He was like warning me, "Oh, don't get into that. That's bad news," etc., etc. So I thought that was pretty funny. But fear not, I only want those particular songs for myself. And I'm going to stop there. I'm not buying any $10,000, $20,000 Rouge music boxes. So hopefully you sort of enjoy that. I'm going to play it one more time. So again, you can appreciate the sound. So here we go. Okay, that was really special. Now, I got this just about a month ago. They just released a 72-note music box with 3 songs from Beauty and the Beast. And it just got released, like literally, I think within this year. And so I got it from the same source, Sankyo, Japan. One of the people I know have a source in Japan who does some of this for me and hadn't worked with him for a couple years. The last thing I bought from him was the 50-note version. So he kind of took care of me. This is, again, very nice, beautiful walnut. Look at the difference, in size, if you can appreciate that. It gives you kind of an idea of how much wider this is versus this, okay? So the bottom one is 72 notes. I'm gonna turn it around. We're gonna open it. So these are the 3 songs it plays. It plays Beauty and the Beast, another different section, and then Belle Reprise, which is I think from the Village song, right? The opening, and then finally Something There in the Winter Snow. And if you take a look here, you can see how much wider and more complicated the movement is for a 72 note. Now try to imagine what must a 144 note be like. I've never owned one, and I don't know if I am. There's no song that I have to get for 144. Maybe a Canon in D, maybe Flight of the Bumblebees. They're very, very rarefied tunes. And it's gonna cost, like I said, thousands of dollars to get one. But this is my first 72, and you can just kind of see how much nicer the movement is in a 50 note. So let's take a listen of the 72 note one. And again, it's a much wider movement, a lot more detail, a lot more notes can be played. So they have now 3 songs, okay, versus just the one with the 50 note. Okay, let's slide it again. This is now the next song. When you put the stop here, it stops at every song. That's kind of the way this box works. So if you want to hear all 3 back to back to back, you wouldn't put it, you wouldn't slide it back. But I like to slide it each time because the songs are from very distinct separate parts of the story of the movie. So this is the last one, back to Belle again. So you heard Belle to start with. There's something there. This is Beauty and the Beast. So there you go. I'm not sure if you can appreciate the difference, but the 72 note, at least to my ear, sounds a little bit richer. There's a little bit more melody, a little bit more nuance. So these are the 2 music boxes I own. I own one more, by the way, which is one from a video game called Final Fantasy VII. It's called Eretz Theme, and it's a gorgeous movement. And that's gonna, I'll review it another time. It's to take a little bit for me to actually get it out of the case and all of that stuff. But it's a very valuable movement, very, very, very rare. An original one of those, by the way, in the original release in Japan can cost 10,000, I think, pretty easily. Maybe 7, maybe 8. I don't know. There's so few of them. There's less than 100 of those. And so I didn't get the original, but I got the original movement and had it built into a custom walnut box. So I hope that was somewhat interesting to you. I mean, for those of you who really don't know much about music boxes, to sort of, get a feel for that. So I'm going to take a look over here and check it out. So hopefully you can kind of see from here a little bit more detail of, turn it around a little bit. Actually, I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to turn it around and give you a much better look in the next segment. Okay, welcome back. So now to my hand, you're going to see some glare, but you can tell, this over here is the sort of the number of notes. Here's the comb, and then right over here, this is the Geneva Stop. And as you can see, it winds and winds and winds. When it hits this larger section, it won't wind anymore. And this Geneva Stop right over here is what protects you from over rotating or over winding this mechanism. So again, this is literally what that looks like. Here are the songs. Here's what this is. You can kind of appreciate all the intricacies of that comb. Look at that. And I think you were able to see it move earlier, so I won't do that. But yeah, this is it. And if you go on YouTube, there are actually quite a lot of nice YouTube videos with various movements. But this is, of course, from Beauty and the Beast and Disney. And there's not that many of those out there. But the quality kind of varies, and sometimes you can't really appreciate, again, the sound as much. So hopefully this was interesting, and now you get an idea of what really good high-end music boxes can truly sound like. And again, this is not even like I would say work of art. There are those out there that are 20, 30,000. The box itself has art and painting on it and all that sort of stuff. Those are alone are thousands. And then of course the movement from the Swiss Rouge company, also very, very expensive. A lot of the movements are limited. Once they make them, they don't make them anymore, and they're sold out. So it's a pretty deep rabbit hole that you can fall down. That was what my friend back at Loma Linda was warning me of, and I'm not gonna fall down that hole. So that's fine. I'm very happy with my my personal Beauty and the Beast music boxes that I got in about 7 years apart. So there you have it. I don't think they're ever gonna make 144 note Beauty and the Beast music box. If they do, I might be in trouble, but I don't think they'll ever do that. And by the way, the line of movements is called Sankyo Orpheus from the Greek mythology. All right, until next time, take care.